You're very welcome along to Old Belvedere Rugby Club. It's great to have you with us. So Off the Ball, as I'm sure you know at this stage, is proud to support Tackle Your Feelings. That's brought to you by Rugby Players Ireland, and it's in association with Zurich Ireland and the Z Zurich Foundation. So Tackle Your Feelings Schools is a free wellbeing programme and app. It's developed by experts, and very simply it aims to help upskill students to deal with life's everyday challenges. And you can check out tackleyourfeelings.com. Very happy to say we have a brilliant panel, 3 ambassadors for Tackle Your Feelings. We have Billy Dardis, we have Eimear Considine, and we have Andrew Porter. You're all very welcome. It's great to have you here. You two played together, you two trained together, you two must have met somewhere along the way, so you all sort of know each other, I think, is the gist here.
Yeah,
yeah.
Great.
Commented or something, said something.
Yeah.
Something good or
Something
bad
nice,
about
hopefully, yeah.
And Billy, you and Andrew played...
Right up until 20s, I think.
Yeah.
We would have played Irish 20s together.
My first year, 20s.
Yeah, and my second year, 20s,
Yeah.
played Irish 20s together in the academy together at the
Yeah,
start of your career, and then I would have trained a little bit again.
We briefly crossed over. I swiftly left the sevens programme.
Yeah. So the sevens, male-female train, same campus or even a little bit together, or that seems to be a relationship?
Yeah.
At the time when I was involved with it, there was a lot of weekend camps as well. So you were weekend camps at the very start.
Bit of overlap.
And similar tours and training camps and that, and even trained against you.
We still do. That's what I
Yeah.
was telling Joe earlier. We still, only the week before we went to Cape Town, the World Cup, because the girls were playing New Zealand, needed a bit of a ramp up in preparations, trained against them and got a good blowout, which was interesting. It's always an interesting experience playing against the women, and I think they get a lot out of it, and so do we. Just it's a good blowout.
Well, this is hopefully an interesting non-rugby conversation in many ways. You're all ambassadors for Tackle Your Feelings, so I presume, Andrew, to get the ball rolling, you're the most recent Tackle Your Feeling edition. You would be approached by charities, various guises. Why Tackle Your Feelings? Why did you come on board?
Well, like it was an easy decision for me to make. Like it's an incredible initiative to get behind. I've obviously had my struggles in the past with mental health, and it's especially aimed at kind of younger people in schools with their Tackle Your Feelings Schools initiative. So, like it's an incredible charity, and it's something that really means a lot to me, and I think it means a lot to Eimear and to Billy as well. Like I said, it does so much for so many people, and if I can do something to help along the way, I will.
Eimear, you're a teacher, so you're seeing everything from all angles. You must see what it's like on the ground and the challenges the kids face.
Yeah, it's not easy being a teenager these days, and I see it firsthand. And the schools programme is a relatively new initiative that wasn't there when they were just launching it, and I suppose the background work was being done when I first came on board. But I suppose it was more like just to show to people that, like, even though we are athletes, you see us on screens, you see us on social media, that mental well-being, like everyone wants it, everyone needs it. And when I chat to the girls in school about, what is mental well-being, like, do you want to be happy? And it's always a yes answer. I said, well, that is well-being. But, if you want to be happy, it's ticking off a lot of boxes to get there. So it's not just for athletes, and that's the main thing. It's anybody really, and it's just the tools and finding the tools and I think the time that I came on board as an athlete, as an ambassador, was very, very early on, right before COVID, and those tools I thought were particularly useful to be able to dip into the app especially, and be grateful for things that, like, we were stuck in a 2K limit, and being able to use the app and to find the good in not so good a situation was really, really useful for me. And it's, as an athlete, as a person, as a teacher, I think it's across the board, it's really good.
I'm curious, so we're all different. Some of us are prone to being sensitive about things, prone to overthink or worry. Others are just lucky enough by nature or nurture to be naturally optimistic and less sensitive. So I'd be curious even to get it on a spectrum. Where would everybody class themselves? I'll start with you, Billy.
I think naturally I'd be a bit of an overthinker, like a lot of people. I think you kind of learn through experience to, like, whatever is thrown at you, you can't control everything, is to just get on with things. So I've become a lot more relaxed over time to, like, take the good and the bad with a pinch of salt and just kind of get on with things. I suppose that comes from sevens, my past experiences through school and everything. It gives you a bit of perspective and forces you to relax a good bit more. I don't know about you guys, where you would find yourself on that spectrum.
It's a tough one. Like, sometimes, like, I'd be chilled. I think I'm a bit more laid back. I definitely am an overthinker and that kind of a thing. And maybe I should think a little bit or care a little bit more about certain things. That it's just, I think being so busy, being an athlete and having a full-time job, you're rushing and you actually don't get meaningful time sometimes because you're always rushing from one thing to the other and actually don't get time to overthink things, which then in fact allows you to be extra busy. And then it's only when you sit back, relax, reflect and think, oh, that was really good, or I got through that really well, or I really, really struggled getting through that time. And because you were so busy, you never actually realised it. And I spoke about that in my Tackle Your Feelings video about the burnout, and it came from me just actually taking a step back and realising, dear God, I hated school, I hated training, I hated rugby, I hated my free time, physical activity. It was like, God, this is all the signs of burnout. But at the time I didn't realise it because I didn't think about it, I hadn't the time to think about it. And when I actually did get the time to think back over it, I realised that actually I had all the symptoms of burnout at the time.
Andrew, where are you?
Yeah, like I'd be similar to kind of Eimear on this. Like I would have been worrying about about things that just wouldn't it would be taking up too much of my time, and like the burnout she was saying, like I'd be trying to fill my time with all these things, and then you don't really know you're in a burnout until it's too late. Like, and then your kind of brain is fried from just overthinking about things, and but like you kind of come to learn these things and your experiences, and just kind of letting things go, kind of taking a breath, like in the moment of when things are heating up, like, and that's why the app and that's why Tackle Your Feelings is so good. I think it's just being able to kind of teach you how to kind of take that breath and just be able to relax when things might not be going your way, but you're able to find a solution for it.
Yes, well, I think, Eimear, you used the word tools, and I think tools is very appealing to lots of us because it's less airy-fairy and it feels like something pragmatic and something we can implement. So Billy made us all jealous pre-hitting record because meditation is one of those things people mention, and we would all like to say we meditate for 25 minutes every morning before eating our porridge and are doing our yoga. You're the only one who seems to have a reasonable habit of meditation for one thing, so that'd be one of your go-tos?
Yeah, I like to, I suppose, be able to take a step back and take that breath. I find I try and do it twice a week. I don't do it every week. I'm not perfect by any means, but maybe twice a week, try and do some yoga for like half an hour. And then, I think once you're that calm and relaxed and present, it's nice to be able to lie back, and sometimes just with some music and just chilling. And I suppose it's just bringing yourself back down to earth, thinking about good times, trying to put yourself in a good mood. But I try and do it twice a week.
Brilliant. Well, I guess there's a whole array of things that don't even have to be all that complicated, like good sleep. It's a starting point for everybody. What are your go-tos, Eimear, and the good times are the bad times?
It's the basics. It's good nutrition. It's plenty of sleep. It's surrounding yourself with good people. It's meeting a friend for a coffee, finding time for yourself. I always speak to Hannah about I always have time for my nails no matter how busy I am. It's my thing. And it's just the self-care that you need in life. And so the tools that you can... you can't, some things you can't control. You can't control, we've had trauma in our past, we'd be busy in work and some things are completely out of your control, and it's how you react to those things. And everyone has a choice at the end of the day of, well, am I going to get mad about it, or is there anything I can do? But like, what is the solution? And like when it comes to rugby, it's the selection side of things, with us, we are full-time professionals on top of players, and when you're not selected for a weekend camp or a weekend, Six Nations game, it's just, well, I get to spend time with my family, I get to spend time with my friends, I get to catch up on this, that and the other. And so you have to see... reframe it. You try and find the good in a situation. Try and find, well, what is positive of this really crap situation that I can't control. So I can't control that, yes, there's certain elements that I'm obviously not selected because of X, Y and Z. But then you try and see, well, what does this allow me to do? What opportunity am I now faced with that I wouldn't have had I been selected in that? So you just have to flip it, and there's good in every situation. It's just about, I suppose, finding it and being present at the moment. And like you said, they're so simple, the tools, and it's over COVID, as I always go back to that. But I used to make my sister, she came home from Australia after she flew home, and there was a 2-week strict quarantine. She was out in the garage. She's never let us forgive her. For 2 weeks, and like she had the
locked in the garage,
locked in the garage for 2 weeks, and we used to have coffee out the window with each other. So I'd make her a cup of coffee and I'd sit outside the window. We'd chat through the window. I used to make her think of 3 things that were she was thankful for it. She stuck in the shed. But it was like this cup of coffee, the chats, and being at home. And it's like, okay, it was so crap for her, but you just have to think of well, what am I actually grateful for? So simple things. It's really not rocket science.
Yes. I think we all stole a glance at your nails. I can confirm. They're in great shape.
They're always done.
Andrew, what are your go-tos then? Be it, run-of-the-mill day, tough day, good day?
It's something I've really kind of come to learn about myself. Like it's something might work for me, might not work for someone else. Like it's like I could have the worst day ever, and I could just get home and I'll see my fiance and my dog, and I'll bring the dog for a walk or something, just slap my headphones on and kind of try to shut things off and just kind of relax, kind of enjoy my own company and just enjoy kind of being outside in fresh air, that kind of thing. Like I'd immerse myself in my training, like what I had done in the past. I'd just immerse myself in my training, just to kind of take my mind off things in that way and try to keep myself busy in that sense. Yeah. But like it all comes back to being grateful, like Eimear said, and it's just being grateful for what you do have. Like I think people can get so lost today in social media and things like that, but I think it's about being grateful for what you have and kind of looking inside at yourself rather than looking outwards at the social media side of things, kind of looking at that kind of distorted reality kind of that's out there, especially for young people these days. It's a tough kind of place to be in.
Yeah.
So like I think for myself, definitely I've kind of I tried to shut myself off from social media, especially playing. It's so tough as well, because say if you might not have the best game or something, and you see it's nothing worse than going and seeing something written about you. Like so that's why I just try to shut myself off from that side of things. So
fair enough.
Yeah, but like it's different things for different people. Like.
It is, yeah. You haven't had a bad game in about 2 years.
I wouldn't say that now.
I'd say you're all right.
Can't be much bad said about you, can there?
You go searching for it.
Yeah. This is I'm cautious about it, but slight generalisation. I noticed that it was only Eimear who mentioned I might meet a friend for a coffee. And I think if we were to generalise, I think women generally are better at reaching out to a friend and talking. And Andrew, be myself, be by myself. I wonder, are we less inclined as men to reach out and talk to people, or no? You did mention your fiance, so I'm sure you talk to her occasionally.
Yeah. Oh, no, 100%. Like it's the people who you surround yourself with are like they mean everything to me. Like all my friends, my family, even my dog. Like it's what you have there. Like they're your backbone. That's my why for a lot of things. Like I'll do a lot of things knowing that I have all them behind me.
When you unload to them, things aren't going well.
Yeah, like that's the thing with the environment I'm in now in Leinster and in Ireland. I think the stigma around kind of male mental health has kind of changed compared to what it had been in the past. So I think people are more open. I definitely am. I'm more open talking and kind of unloading what's going on in my head. So compared to what I had been doing in the past, where I'd just be bottling everything up. So
right. Well, I'll come to that in a second. But I would think not least in a male dressing room. I don't have experience of female dressing room. You can give us a sense of that, Eimear. But I would think in a male dressing room, weakness is generally slagged, and that's the group coping mechanism, or else it's hidden from the group. Generally, I wonder, is that space becoming maybe a touch more gentle or understanding or mature?
I saw something recently about it, that if you want to get stronger in the gym, you go to the gym and work on it. It should be the exact same with your mental health. If you're struggling with it, you should go and seek help or chat to someone. And yeah, I think things are changing. I kind of see in like our dressing room, guys are more than happy to sit down and chat to people now. I've heard about cases only recently where guys struggle kind of by themselves, and it's only when you hear that it's like, geez, we're all social animals and we love being asked for help. And it's I think people do really appreciate if you do ask them for help. So it would be nice to change that stigma. I definitely do think it's changing. There's a lot of people speaking out about it these days, which is really important.
How do you suspect the female dressing room? How would you categorise that?
Oh, I think everyone knows everything about everybody. It's like we're pretty open, pretty close group as well, and it is really encouraged among the group, obviously through our reps and that as well, to go talk if you're like that, it's like if you can't get your mental game right either, like it's an element that you're missing out on, and everyone wants to be a better athlete, person, happier, like I said, and those little 1%ers, you know, if you think that by talking to somebody or seeing somebody professionally will make you a better athlete or a person or even happier, you're going to want to do that. And I think the females are definitely, the girls team's definitely easier. There's probably more of us that go chat to people week in, week out. I can't speak for the men. I don't know how often or how many that they do, but I know from the girls in Ireland that they would avail of the tackle feeling services quite often, and the services that RPI set out for us.
During the most recent Six Nations, I was thinking in advance of the panel, so you started the first game against Wales, and then you're out of the team, and then you're back in the team, and it's all a little up and down. So what's that experience like?
Yeah, like I suppose you have a choice in how you reacted. You come in training on the Tuesday with a smile on your face, with a point to prove. You can, like I said, you can react in two ways. You can sulk and not be picked again for the next week, or you can say that I'm a really valuable part of this team and show them why you think you are. And if you believe you are, well then, you know, you have to go in believing in yourself 100%. And if you don't, well, how can coaches believe in you? So it's just, you have a choice, like I said, in everything that you do, and you can react. And if you want to play badly enough, you'll put your hand up and put everything in place that the coaches want you to do, and be the person that they have no other choice but to pick. It's not easy. Like, I'm not saying that not getting selected isn't easy.
You sulked a little bit, surely.
Yeah, and actually, in fact, the weekend I didn't get selected was the Italian game, and I was so sick that week. Not even, like, I wouldn't have been able to play if I was selected.
Right, okay.
So I'm like, everything happens for a reason, you know?
Good timing.
What about, I suppose, pressure to win? Do you, Andrew, like, when you think of the World Cup, is that like a thought of, pressure? Or is it can't wait, really looking forward to it? Like, how does the World Cup sit on your horizon mentally?
I'd use that. I try to turn pressure into excitement. So it's like it's how you kind of perceive things, really. It's like you can either look at it as this big kind of daunting task that's never been done in the history of Irish rugby, or you can look at it as a huge opportunity to go out and take it. Like, you can go, like, it's obviously a huge event on the world stage, but like, you're there for a reason. Hopefully they'll be there, but
I think you will.
hopefully. yeah, but it's one of those things you have to really kind of channel, and just kind of, it's your own perception of it. Like, I look at it with huge excitement, because you have to back yourself. You have to back your ability and the ability of your teammates at the end of the day, really. So I'm hugely excited for it.
And then what do you do when that, because we all have thoughts, and, you know, we're not our thoughts, but they're flowing across our head quite a bit. What do you do when the thought comes in, oh man, if we crash out quarterfinal stages again, and all the criticism, when that thought comes across your head, how do you deal with that?
I think it's just about kind of positivity going into it. Like, it's positivity, and that, like I said, it's backing yourself. If you're backing your own abilities, and hey, there will be negativity going around, whether it's in the media or wherever, like on social media and like stuff. So, but like I said earlier, it's like you have to try block all that out. You just have to focus on what you're doing and on what the team is doing. So yeah.
I saw in one of the Tackle Your Feelings videos, Eimear, you had a great line where you said, you know, you've come to the conclusion, or you've come to kind of the ethos. It's not about being the best; it's about being your best, and that probably falls into that category of, well, there's only so much I can control.
Yeah, it is, and there's only so much you can do as well. And if you think you've done enough and you're still not selected, or if you've done enough and you still don't win, at least you can look back and say, well, look, there's nothing more I could have done. I made every tackle, I carried hard, I trained hard, lifted well in the gym, and you just can be as good as you can be. You can't be as good as somebody. You can't control what a teammate or an opponent will do, but it's once you know that you've done your best, that is enough. And no matter what it is, whether it's sport, across the board, once you can put your hand up and be honest with yourself, then it's a really good lesson to you.
What about you when it comes to setbacks in rugby?
Yeah, I've had quite a few, but you kind of, as I said earlier, you learn from it that it's not the be all and end all. And I suppose I've learned a lot over, probably more particularly recently, that like there's more to life than rugby, I suppose. And when it comes to pressure and whatever, there's no one's putting any more pressure on you than you probably are yourself. It's probably all internally, but at the same time, I've probably learned a lot recently that there's more to life than rugby, and at the end of the day, it is just a game.
I think you start realising, you actually start enjoying things more when you realise that rugby is just a game at the end of the day. Like, it's your job, but it is just it's a game. It's my hobby. It's what I do for fun.
Yeah.
And when it stops becoming fun, you have to take a look at yourself
And the more important things in life are your family and
Yeah.
your health and like
perspective.
literally-
Yeah.
And certain experiences and certain moments teach you that, and that really, if you lose a game, it's not the end of the world. If you lose a tournament or if you have a bad game, yeah, I'll try and do it right the next time or whatever, but it isn't really the end of the world if you do mess up once or twice.
Is that why you took time out in 18 to go and travel, Eimear, and get away from it? And put
Yeah,
it
I
in
think
perspective?
it was a mixture of the burnout kind of thing as well, that I had been playing high-level inter-county football in Camogie as well before I started rugby. I was travelling up and down from Dublin to do both Camogie and football, so like my Friday could be get in the car at 3 o'clock, drive down to Clare and do a Camogie session, get up the next day, play a football match in Cork, then drive to wherever and play a Camogie game, could be Derry, and then back to Dublin again, do it all over again for the week. And it was just, I went from dual inter-county player to then Irish Sevens, which was at the time amateur, so we trained Monday to Friday and then did weekend camps. So I think it was like sport after sport after sport. It was busy the whole way through, and I think I just felt that the only way to actually get away from sport is to leave the country. And I left the country and travelled many of them and came back broke, but I came back with a new lease of life. Like, I have never enjoyed rugby more than when I came back in 2018 and had a few good seasons personally. And you sometimes need to just take a step back and realise there is more to life than rugby.
So it's interesting to get your perspective on just managing kind of the routine aspects of day-to-day life and the challenges that come with it. And then there are just times that you can reframe things all you want, but it's just a horrific time. And I'm conscious both you, Eimear, and you, Andrew, have lost a parent when you were both very young. And I can only imagine, if you want to start, Andrew, in so much as you're comfortable, I can only imagine what it's like to navigate the fallout from something like that. I mean, it must be near impossible at times.
Yeah, like, it was obviously when I was very young, so it was completely kind of shook everything, shook my world. Like, it was just like, and at the time I didn't know how to deal with it, because there wasn't any attack your feelings or anything back then. So there was,
You were 12?
I was 12, yeah, at the time, and I'd literally just started secondary school. I'd gone in the day after the funeral, the secondary school. So, yeah, like, it was crazy, like, going into a new environment, kind of not knowing anyone in secondary school, and like, that was the thing. I felt like I was on my own nearly.
So did you not take a bunch of friends from primary school?
I had a few, yeah, but like, sure, we were all put into different forms and different classes, so like, you were completely mixed up. Like, but like, at the time, I felt like I was completely on my own. It was madness. Like, I didn't realize how many people were around me and how much support I had there. But it was just, I shut everything off. I was just like bottled everything up, which was obviously the worst thing to do. But you're so young and you don't really know any better, like, at the time. So
Yes.
yeah, like, it was an incredibly tough few years. Like, I went through eating disorders and stuff, like, as a result of it. Like, so I think that was a result of bottling everything up, not talking. Like, knowing now I had everyone there to talk to, but yeah, at the time you don't know any better. So that's like I'll come back to it again. That's why I think the tackle your feelings is so important, because now kids nowadays have that support network that they can realize it's not a weakness to go and talk about these kind of things.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And was your mother's passing a shock, or had there been an illness, or?
It was cancer. So yeah, like, I also work with Irish Cancer Society as well, because it obviously means a lot to me and the rest of my family. But yeah, it was a shock to me, because at the time you don't really think
The worst.
you don't know what it is. Like, I had no idea what it was. I thought it was like a cold. Like, should be getting ready, should be ready to take me to my rugby match the week after or something. So, it was a shock to me. Like, I think my dad, like, I owe him everything. Like, it was in terms of kind of looking after me and not kind of expose me to all the kind of scary, the bad news back at the time. But
Yeah.
and like he's like I owe him everything in terms of who I am today. Like in raising me as a single parent, so and my two sisters as well. So yeah, I owe him everything. Honestly, it's tough to put in words what he's done for me, like and how he's kind of molded me into the person I am today. But
Yeah.
like you said, like he was always there for me, but I never knew it at the time.
Yes, of course. I mean, I'm sure he must have himself been completely unsure as to how to handle everything. Like, do you go to school the next day after a funeral? Do you sit at home and think about it? What's the best thing to do? Nobody probably knows.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think there's any like kind of concrete answer to it. I think like he obviously he did his best, and he still does. Like his kind of what he did for me in all those years, like and my two sisters, for my whole family, like it's incredible, like supporting us on his own. So yeah, like I honestly owe a lot to him for what he did.
So you bottle up your feelings, as you say, and that becomes your kind of way of dealing with things. I presume that's why maybe an eating disorder blossoms and the grief manifests in that way. Did it get serious? Were you? I read your line from where you were saying that you went from maybe biggest kid in your class starting off to almost the skinniest kid in the class. Over what kind of time period was that?
Yeah, that was over, I think, from first to second year. Like it was just, I think I saw pictures. I remember ages ago I saw pictures of myself, and I wouldn't have even recognized myself. Like it's scary how much your mental health can play into can manifest into something like that. So like it's crazy kind of looking back on it now and realizing kind of that's how grateful I am now to be where I am at the moment.
And would you, I see it's hard, who knows, it's hard to remember what your thought process as a 12, 13, 14-year-old, but did you remember at the time thinking, my relationship with food has become different or unusual to what it had been, or maybe you didn't even know it was happening?
Like that's the thing with, like you said, with the burnout, like you don't realize you're burnt out till you're kind of at your wit's end, like where I didn't realize I was doing anything wrong. Like at the time, I didn't realize I was at a disorder or an eating disorder at the time. So until like my family were worried about me, like, and like you said, I was the biggest lad in school and going to the nearly skinniest. So it was I think the people around me kind of were like a bit shocked as well. But I think everyone at the time, like all your schoolmates and stuff, they don't know at the time how to say it to you or how to ask, or like, are you okay? But that's why I think having your kind of support network there, having your friends, your family, like being able to ask someone, oh, you okay? Or being able to kind of unload and like you're not a burden on anyone. That's how I would see it. Like if someone came to me saying, oh, I'm not happy or anything, I'd be like, oh, open up, like let's sit down and have a chat. Like,
yes, as Billy says, everyone almost wants to help anyone.
Yeah, yeah.
And was it the weight loss that prompted some kind of intervention, or how do you remember navigating your way out of it?
I think I can't remember if there was any certain kind of event that kind of kicked it off, but I remember my dad was just kind of, I could see he was struggling. Like it was just from what was going on with me was obviously affecting him. So, yeah, I don't think there was any like specific event. It was just more just kind of, I could see what my family were trying to do to help me, and then kind of realized at the time, okay, maybe I need help. Maybe I need to I need to talk to someone about this.
And did you do that?
Yeah, like I got counselling when I was young, so and that did help and kind of helped me open up to more and more people. Like I chatted to my dad more and more, chatted to my sisters, chatted to my friends, my extended family. So I was able to kind of unload this thing that was eating me up on the inside, like
Grief.
Yeah,
sadness, yeah. There's again, silver linings is the wrong expression. I presume you and your sisters and your father going through that experience has maybe brought the family tighter.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's mad what kind of instances like that can do to a family. Like at the time, you think it's the worst thing ever, and then like a couple of years pass, it definitely does bond your family together, and it brings, yeah, like it brings you closer. And like that's, like I said, they're my why. Like that's why I do what I do, and that's, yeah, like I try to do my best for them, try to make them proud for everything they've done for me in the past.
And one last thought, and then I might chat to Eimear and hear about her experience. So I presume I don't know, it's less raw now, the grief, but on the big days and on the happy days, your mother's absence must be felt. How do you deal with that sadness? Do you embrace it and allow it fester for a while, or do you push it away, or what's your approach?
That's a tough one. Yeah, like that's the thing with life. You're gonna have ups and downs. It's just a matter of how you react to these things. Like, obviously, it's never easy losing someone that close to you.
Yeah.
So, but I've kind of come to terms with it in a way where I can't dwell on that. All I can do is try and do my best in the memory of her. For like, I'd love her on those big days, like your big kind of milestones, like you're getting your first cap and all that, kind of playing for your, like representing your country or your club, or those kind of big days in terms of a rugby player, but also just Christmases and birthdays and stuff like that is obviously tough. Like, so, but like I think the best thing I can do and my family can do is just kind of remember. That's the thing when you lose someone, just to never forget. Like,
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, thank you so much for talking like that. I don't know how you did it.
no, sorry, I probably burned your ear off.
No, geez, far from it. I mean, it's an amazing thing to have someone of your profile just talk like that, and it's so sad. It's inspirational. It's everything combined. Eimear, you were 14, I think, and total shock on a family walk, and your father passed away. Andrew talked there about the experience of trying to handle those immediate years as being incredibly challenging. How did you cope in the immediate aftermath, do you remember?
Yeah, like they're kind of a blur, similar that I had my home ec practical the next day, and I went in and did my home ec practical. Like I don't know, was it me? Was it my family not knowing what to do? But I went in and I did my cookery exam. And I think then sport kind of kept me busy and my mind occupied, and not that that's a good thing to do, but it was my outlet and it was I think my escape and my coping mechanism. I was always busy with sport. And I never really spoke about Dad and his death. And because I kind of didn't want to be the person who had lost a father, I didn't want to be the poor girl over there. I didn't want an excuse. I didn't want that to be the reason why I got good grades or why I excelled in sport or why I made teams. I wanted to do it for me. But then when the Tackle Your Feelings campaign came, and the reason I spoke about it in the first place was because like someone hearing that story from you, and I got so many messages afterwards from people saying, I wish there was someone like you when so-and-so passed away or when my dad or my mother passed away, and you realise the significance of the impact that you have when you tell people that, you know, I've lost somebody, it wasn't easy. The role model that you are to some people from like that story or my story, just to be more relatable to people and to be more relatable to like I said, so many messages, and I'm sure you're the same, so many messages, people didn't know your story, and it's just it wasn't about me, you know, for a finish it wasn't about me, it was about what impact can I have on other people, and the Tackle Your Feelings campaign is about opening up, and life is not all rainbows, you know, there's ups and downs, and it's how you deal with it. And I suppose that's the main reason why I spoke about it. And like it wasn't easy, but I didn't speak about it early in life, and it was only recently when I did start to do it, and that brought, you know, skeletons out of the closet too, that we didn't really speak that much about him
As a family
at home, and
that was too painful, I presume.
Yeah, and like that was it as well, and. I suppose we brought it to the fore, and my sister was in Australia when this video came out, and you know she got particularly emotional about it as well, because as a family we hadn't spoken about it, and my brother is 9 years older than us, and he had taken over that kind of father figure of our family. Obviously my mother, like I like your father, like I can't express the gratitude and everything, like every single thing that she did was for us, and like I just think now as a grown adult trying to like with a husband trying to manage like an income with two incomes and trying to like manage finances and schedules, and I have nobody to look after but myself, and like, God, how did she do it and have such high standards of us? And I suppose we had high standards because we didn't want to let her down, because we knew that everything that she did was for us. And like, no amount of words or thank yous can thank her. It's just, I think as an adult you're more admirable of them, because you're like, Jesus, how did they get through it? How do they cope with, one, the loss, and then two, having to be the strong person of the family and ensure that life goes on, because at the end of the day life does go on, and you have two ways to react. You can fall to pieces, which is very normal.
Yes.
Or you can pick up the pieces and put it all back together, and that's what my mother did.
It sounds then a bit like the Considines, almost, from literally doing the junior cert practical the next day, and what you've said about your mum, there was a degree of, we're just putting our foot in the accelerator and we're just going to power on and power through this. That was the...
Yeah, and it wasn't like we're ignoring it, you know, it was, we have a choice here, and like, no matter how sad or how much we wallowed or how everything, like, Dad wasn't going to come back. You know, his memory was always going to be there, but he wasn't going to come back. I suppose that was the thought behind it.
Did you ever talk to anyone professionally?
No, I actually didn't. Any of my talking has been done here. On camera.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. And when you spoke publicly, and you know, you mentioned it registered with your sister, it's a hard question to ask. Did you almost say, well, we should make an effort to talk about it more, or do you quickly fall back into old habits? Or
no, we do, and it's more with meeting Dad's family, and you know, they tell lovely stories, and it's nice to hear. And I spent a few summers in New York, and he's a lot of family out there, and they'd say, oh, look, he built this and he did that, and you're hearing, you know, lovely stories and of the memory and keeping him alive in that as well. So and like, he's not forgotten. Like, every big moment, like, they're there, like, you're thinking. And we won the Club All Ireland in 2009, and I remember people from the local parish were like, your dad would be so proud of you. And it's those moments that you're like, it hits you. Or it hit me last year before I got married that my dad wasn't going to walk me down the aisle. And it's like, obviously rugby is important and big matches are important, and people always do say your dad would be so proud of you, but it's moments like that you're like, God, it really hit me that he wouldn't walk me down the aisle. Even though, like, I knew this, like, he died in 2006, but it was the reality of those big days. But my brother walked me down the aisle, and that was really special, and I'm so happy that he did, you know. So perspective, I suppose.
Yes, yes. When people say something like that to that, he'd be so proud of you, I'm sure you get, she'd be so proud of you. Does that sounds like that's almost a lot to deal with. That could catch you off guard, almost, a comment like that.
Yeah, and it does sometimes. Like, to be honest, like, yeah, like, I hope I'm making her proud. But look, that's the thing. Like, like I said, that's my why. That's why I have her name tattooed on my arm, just so. Like, I'm never going to forget someone like that. And like, even you get people who you might not have ever met before, like, coming up and, like you said, telling stories and stuff, and just, like, incredible. You don't think of any bad time. I only think of, like, the best memories I have, because that's all I have of her, really. So that's all, like, my family have, really. It's like, we sit down Christmas time and we'd be reminiscing about, oh geez, when we were kids, and what she'd be doing, what she had to put up with dealing with me when I was running around tearing the place up when I was younger. So yeah, that's usually the one that kind of catches you off guard. Should be so, yeah,
I can imagine.
Like you said.
I should emphasise Eimear and Andrew are not talking about this because it's easy. It's because they're very passionate about tackle your feelings, and there's an app which is very much there to help children at school deal with tough times like this and less tough times. I guess what strikes me, Eimear, listening to you and Andrew talk about it, is it must have felt like, I'm never going to get through this. Like, it pretty much is about as bad a thing as possible that can happen, and it must feel like it's never going to be better. And I guess you guys are a good example for any teenager going through something really, really difficult, that over time, you know, things pass and you can get through incredibly tough things.
Yeah, and people are so resilient, and they'll realise that in any tough situation that eventually they will get there through themselves, through help, through counsellors, through the Tackle Your Feelings app, that thankfully is so many resources in place. I know from working in a school environment that a lot of the teachers will be aware of these, and I'm not sure how many teachers are aware of. Yeah, I'm sure most were, but I don't know what was done or what was said. But I know as staff and students, and there's supports now in place for anyone that's struggling. You don't have to have a death or a trauma in the family. It can be any type of struggle, and the really good thing is there are those supports there in schools, and the Tackle Your Feelings programme is in schools. And we even did a wellbeing day last year for TYs where we I actually spoke for a 40-minute period about Tackle Your Feelings, and we did like a mindfulness colouring, and we did like a goal setting day. And it's those little things that in the past wouldn't have been important, but now I suppose with the wellbeing curriculum and the TY programme is being so vast, and you can do anything, to be honest, in those, and they're so creative. There's a way to get out of any tough situation.
Billy, I suspect like me, you're sitting here listening to these two in total admiration.
Yeah, I suppose like I'm lucky, I'm fortunate that I haven't gone through any of that, but I suppose it does put everything into perspective. And I think, I suppose kind of a side thing, it is an absolute privilege to hear both of you talk about it. It's really inspiring, actually. It's very humbling, and really does put things into perspective. I suppose it teaches you a lot, whether you're the person going through these hard times or whether you're a person witnessing someone going through those hard times, is to speak and talk to people about it, and then it teaches you to be grateful for what you have. Because I suppose what you two people went through is unbelievably tough, I can imagine, and it teaches me a lot to be grateful for what I have. So thank you for that. But it is incredible, I suppose, to hear it.
We might wrap up on that note. Again, just to remind people, so you're listening to Off the Ball and we're supporting Tackle Your Feelings. It's brought to you by Rugby Players Ireland. It's in association with Zurich Ireland and the Z Zurich Foundation. So as you've probably gathered from the conversation, Tackle Your Feelings Schools, it's a free wellbeing programme and app. It's developed by experts and it aims to upskill students to deal with life's everyday challenges, and you can check out tackleyourfeelings.com. Billy Dardis, thank you. Eimear Considine, thank you. Andrew Porter, thank you. Amazing conversation. So genuinely, thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For having us.